Nostalgia. It's like a dream. A faint memory coming into focus. A reliving of the past, where everything's so easy because it's already been done. Feeling nostalgia is natural and quite common in today's world. In fact, more than common, nostalgia has become a bit of an industry unto itself. From remakes and reboots of popular shows, movies, and video games, to fashion and advertising, it seems that the past is all around us. Nostalgia is a powerful marketing tool, one that taps into an already established consumer base, and so it makes sense to use it. But still, why does it work so well? What is it about our present time that has us longing for the past? After all, things weren't always this way. For the bulk of human history, there was no record of nostalgia. Not until the 17th century, in the year 1688, when the term was coined by a Swiss medical student named Johannes Hofer. Hofer pinned the word nostalgia from the Greek words nostos and algos. Nostos, which means return, and algos, meaning pain. Hofer came to recognize the condition in Swiss mercenaries who had traveled far from their homes while in service to the monarchs of Europe. The symptoms of nostalgia included anorexia, obsessive thoughts of home, weeping, insomnia, and in some cases, death, either through suicide or self-neglect. Nostalgia was viewed as a cerebral disease, and to quote Hofer, was brought upon by the quite continuous vibration of animal spirits through those fibers of the middle brain in which impressed traces of ideas of the fatherland still cling. However, it seemed that the cause of nostalgia was up for debate. Others in the medical field attributed the supposed disease to the changes in atmospheric pressure that the Swiss had suffered in the descent from their alpine homes to the low plains of Europe. Military physicians even proposed the idea that nostalgia was so confined to the Swiss as a result of the continuous clanging of cowbells in the Alps, which had caused specific damage to their inner ear and brain. It wasn't just the cause of nostalgia that was up for debate, but also the cure. Hofer believed that curing the condition was as simple as returning a person back home, and noted cases of people so consumed by the disease that they were emaciated and near death. Yet, once they returned home, they could make a full recovery in just days. Not everyone was so kind in their views. In 1733, a Russian commander noticed nostalgia consuming a large percentage of his troops, and to combat the spreading affliction, he buried one of his soldiers alive, as a warning to the others to snap out of it. During the French Revolution, physicians prescribed pain and terror as a treatment to those suffering nostalgia. Leading into the 20th century, cases of nostalgia would start to drop off, and patients experiencing related symptoms would instead be diagnosed with melancholia or better studied illnesses such as general anxiety, schizophrenia, or shell shock. In modern times, we view nostalgia in a totally different light than the days of Johannes Hofer. From a disease of the mind to an innocent look back on better times. And you may be asking yourself, why? The Industrial Revolution was perhaps the most significant event in human history, ushering in a new way of life for millions around the globe. Jobs were more available, cities were growing, communities forming, and information and entertainment were spreading, creating a new centralized culture that could be shared by the masses. And it would be given a name: popular culture. Pop culture was heavily spurred on by developing technologies. The printing press ensured that everyone was quite literally getting on the same page.
And on this great press, 250,000 copies of tomorrow morning's newspaper are being printed with lightning speed.
Radio, newspapers, and young Hollywood could entertain the masses from near to far and give people from different backgrounds something to bond with. America was the melting pot, and its pop culture would become the flame that simmered the mix. There are countless examples: ragtime music, fashion trends like corsets or fine suits, amusement parks, automobiles, even teddy bears were part of the pop culture boom. We were bonding over this new technical revolution, creating an identity we all shared, breaking away from a style of life that had existed for most of human history. Pop culture was like a new landscape, existing on a plane of reality just above the real world. A social mapping laid out over our cities and towns. There was more to life than just living. Now we could ascend to the heavens of entertainment and escape the real world.
Pop culture is a universal language that manages in all of its seemingly trivial glory to make us dream and smile, to connect us across racial, political, and social divides. It is part of our fabric as human beings.
And then came the big one, the ultimate game changer, the television. Radio had dominated home entertainment for the first half of the 1900s, but the television was on its way to take over.
The world was being brought together in ways undreamed of by television's original inventors. People shared triumph and tragedy together, all through this electronic box.
And by the 1950s, most American households would adopt not only a TV, but a color TV, by which the addition of color had dramatically boosted sales. The television changed the way families interacted and even organized their homes, turning the living room into an almost religious area of gathering. And over the next few decades, sporting events, late-night talk shows, news channels, and sitcoms would sew us together on a level never experienced in any other period of human history. Sports gave us something to follow. The news gave us something to think. TV shows gave us something to talk about. Technology kept rapidly advancing. TVs traveled from the living room to the bedroom, and the variety of content expanded. And pop culture changed with the decades.
Here's Johnny!
And while it changed, we changed along with it.
I am the greatest. Well, Ali is asking for it. Goku's trying to give it to him.
I am your father.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the current craze game, Pac-Man.
I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for 36 million and we got people starving in the streets.
Abraham Lincoln would probably not be electable today because of television. He was not a handsome man and he did not smile at all.
Here's Johnny.
Ooh, do you feel the breeze from the Segway? Isn't it delicious?
Say hello to my little friend.
The Industrial Revolution had created a completely different lifestyle to that of the world that came before. And another revolution was just around the corner. This one would have an even greater effect, and not just in the physical world, but within our minds. In farming, the term monoculture refers to the practice of growing only one crop or keeping only one type of animal on an area of farmland. In sociology, it means the same, except instead of crops and land, it's thoughts and mind. A monocultural society is a society that forms around similar ideas. And it's pop culture that helps to seal the deal. In America, Americans can bond over what's on TV, what's on the radio, what our favorite sports teams are up to.
Let's go Birds, fly, Eagles fly, still Super Bowl champs for now.
We know what's going on in the world because of the news networks. And sure, there are different options for different ideologies, but the stories remain the same. In large part, we listen to the same music. Everyone's got their genre of choice, but within that genre, there's only so many popular artists. So even though someone might not listen to rap, they've probably heard of Tupac or Dr. Dre. They may not be a metalhead either, but I'm sure they've heard the name Metallica. That's not to say that there hasn't always been an underground. Niche circles have always existed in our pop culture.
They call themselves names like goths, cureheads, psychobillies. You want to look weirder than everybody else. Is that what you said?
I suppose, yeah. You want to just look different. You want, your own look.
But what we really had established in the past 100 years was a prominent mainstream. The mainstream monoculture also serves as a cultural touchstone to different eras. When you think of the 1980s, that era has a look and a feel, one that can be replicated but never revisited. The culture of that time was real, and it produced an outcome that had its own identity. It was Miami Vice. It was MTV, Scarface, Madonna, big hair, flashy suits, and neon lights. You think of the 1960s and you're thinking Vietnam, hippies, Woodstock, psychedelics. The 90s had grunge and gangster rap, great movies, new types of music, and 3D video games. You see what I'm getting at? Those times had a flavor, spoon-fed to the masses through our limited channels of communication. As different as people are, we share in our generational worldview, a world of thought that we could all align with and conform to, a world to bond over, a world that was soon coming to an end. Computers were a 20th century invention, but it wouldn't be until the dawn of a new millennium when they became common in households.
20 years ago, young men like Paul Allen and Bill Gates invented the personal computer, and in doing so launched a revolution that's changed the way we live, work, and communicate.
Home computing had finally become both affordable and interesting enough to entice everyday users. In this time, technology was changing, as we were shifting from an analog to digital world. Digital cameras were replacing film, cell phones were replacing landlines, and computers were replacing the television. And while those inventions replaced themselves, so did our ideas on how to use them. Web 1.0 was the first incarnation of the internet, also known as the read-only web, comprised of mostly static web pages joined through hyperlinks. Web 1.0 was like a bulletin board where people could gather and post information, rather than a place where people could really experience an interaction. And it was that word interaction that would eventually define what would become to be known as Web 2.0. The dawn of a new age had begun. It was the age of YouTube, social media, podcasting, blogging, and overall connectivity.
The internet itself is a fascinating experiment. You know, the whole idea of connectivity, of like complete connectivity to everybody all over the world all at once.
Pair that with the emergent smartphone, and the culture started to look a little different. The internet had become incredibly diverse, social, and convenient, existing in people's pockets, accessible through the touch of a finger.
You zoom in or zoom out by pinching or unpinching with your fingers. It's spectacular.
The digital age was hitting its stride, and seemingly overnight, we were all on our own course of self-discovery. A new decentralized culture was forming beneath our feet, and the monoculture was beginning to fade away. You would think that with all this connection, interactivity, and convenience, it would be just the opposite. But look at it like this. The world of entertainment, or pop culture, used to exist on just a few different channels. Literally. TV channels or radio stations, magazines, even websites. But now the world of entertainment has expanded so that anyone can broadcast anything. Now people can finely tune their own algorithm. Follow their unique interests, no matter how niche, they will find community. And the resulting effect has been the fractured state of our monoculture and the influx of a brand new nostalgia. In the time that Johannes Hofer first recognized nostalgia as a medical condition, the world was, needless to say, a much different place. For people back then, the idea of nostalgia was so foreign, they couldn't even understand it in mercenaries fighting a war far from home. The most obvious cause was mistaken. Physicians sooner to theorize ridiculous ideas of cowbells and mental disease. How could that be? Think of life before the Industrial Revolution. No cars, no airplanes, no hit songs, no TV shows, no internet. People in large part had evolved from their hunter-gatherer origins and settled down into a sedentary lifestyle. Most people lived and worked within a small radius to their village and rarely ventured far beyond it. Life was slow and culture didn't change. Most people were farmers, and chances are if you were born somewhere, you would die there, and life for your grandchildren wouldn't look much different than it did for you. The common effects of nostalgia were probably always felt: missing your youth, or a family member, or reminiscing on a time you fell in love. But it would take extreme conditions before people really took nostalgia into consideration. Since then, we've recognized nostalgia in a different light. It's become a common theme of today's world, and the extremes that Hofer was pointing toward have fallen under new categories of depression or PTSD. Recorded history dates back roughly 5,000 years, and in just the last couple centuries, nostalgia was given a name, and now in the last 100 years, it's become an everyday occurrence. So what comes next? So much has changed in such little time, and the speed seems exponential. The Industrial Revolution pulled humanity in 1,000 new directions. The Internet Revolution has pulled us in 1,000,000 more. Humanity had culture. Then it progressed and separated, and it needed something new. Pop culture was born, and for nearly a century it managed to fill the seams. Then humanity once again progressed and separated. Except this time, we're on our own. There's just too much out there. Too many roads to take. There are still traces of our monoculture. There are still things that get very popular. But the wheel spins much faster these days, and things are forgotten as soon as they arrive. Nostalgia has taken its final form as the last breath of our dying culture. We are revisiting our past in so many different ways, getting back to the things we all remember. But it's not the same. Those times are gone, and what's left is a pair of rose-colored glasses. I mean, this is all relatively new for us, so what does the future look like? Who knows for certain, but we can look at our recent past. From 1990 to 2017, the number of new cases of depression worldwide increased by nearly 50%. The rate of depression with US teens started to rise by 2012 and doubled by 2019. Those stats float along some curious developments in our technology. In the book Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, Daniel Everett recounts his experiences living with the Pariah tribe, a small Amazonian tribe living in central Brazil, whose focus on community and culture was first and foremost. When questioned on the notion of depression, the tribe's people had no concept of the word.
Aloha! Well, I hope you enjoyed our film so far about Hawaii. Well, speaking of Hawaii, I wanted to play you a song with my authentic ukulele, which I got in Hawaii myself. Cut.
I'm a millennial, born in 1992 at the tail end of the world as we knew it, before the information age would totally consume us. This footage is from a family vacation in Hawaii in the summer of 2001. My dad had just bought a new digital camera for the trip. The way I remember the vacation is the way the footage looks. It's grainy and choppy, with lots of moments missing. As my mom stares off into this beautiful Hawaiian sunset, I wonder, what is she thinking? I wonder what my dad thinks when he hears himself say this now.
Oh yeah, I'm 40 years old too now. Oh man.
I look back at myself, to a person I remember, but who is long gone and been replaced with who I am today. And even though I've done my best throughout this video to explain the why and how of nostalgia, I look back to this and I can't help but feel it.